Hey, everybody, as promised, I finally have the podcast on crypto. It's today's day 35 and day 34. I'm doing two parts. One is to give you essentially the background on crypto so you can just understand what it is, which was also interesting to me because I have to say, I'm wearing my black hat shirt. I work in cybersecurity, and I got to say, it's still a little bit weird to me. And I am pretty conservative about how I spend my money. So okay, let's talk about crypto. I've put together, so today is about how it works and why we're paying attention to it right now. And then tomorrow will kind of be the diabolical, despicable me, evil overlord version, because there are some people who have plans for it that we will never be able to participate in. So let's talk about crypto, and then we'll talk about tomorrow how it's going to get twisted and screwed up. And I'll tell you right now, I'm recording both today because I have to travel tomorrow. So you're getting it. I'm going to put them out sequentially. So you got to wait till tomorrow, but I'm going to have one for both days and with two different spins. So first, let's talk about a good old cryptocurrency and what the heck it is. It is cryptocurrency, or crypto for short, CRYPTO. Crypto is a digital or virtual currency that relies on cryptography for security. There it is. That's where it comes from, cryptography. Unlike traditional money, dollars or euros, it's decentralized and operates, here we go, operates on blockchain technology, creating essentially, don't worry, I'm going to go through this like 3 times to really help us get this. It's essentially a public distributed ledger, like an accounting book. If you're old school, that's an Excel spreadsheet that's an Excel spreadsheet would be like a ledger, except an Excel spreadsheet is a blank and a normal ledger has, different things in it. Accounts receivable, accounts payable. That's how you know if you've spent money that you can't, that the money in your account is already spent, right? Accruing, my favorite thing. So that's what a ledger is. If you're new to ledgers, you might be. Turns out apparently our math proficiency in this country is really bad. So there you go, ledger. So blockchain essentially creates a public distributed ledger, and the transactions are verified and recorded on this ledger by network participants. So basically, if you are run by the club, if you're in the club, you get to participate in writing and correcting the ledger. So everybody can edit this document if you're in the club. It removes the need for central authorities like banks or governments to oversee them. So it's kind of a little bit like a Wikipedia, which is a lot better today than it has been in the past because it is a crowdsourced piece of content. It's much more than a piece of content, but it's a crowdsourced bit of content. And what I like about Wikipedia is they have cite sources. So if you know that there's an assertion made, there's a little footnote, you can go down and go to the source. So as many people who poo-poo Wikipedia, y'all ain't current anymore because it's changed. I don't know that it would be my first source, but it's absolutely one of the places I go get sources and to find out what the conversations are. So it's a little bit like Wikipedia, right? You can only edit Wikipedia if you're an editor. And I've never stepped over that line, thank God. Got enough, I do. Anyway, so that's the transactions are recorded and verified. Governments and banks don't have to be involved. So what you're talking about is a big pile of money. It's virtual because it's now on paper. And I still argue maybe all of our money is virtual. If you look at I am so cash poor right now. All of my money is virtual. It's tied up in my house. It's tied up in 401ks. Like it's virtual. I don't have it. I can only point to it on paper. Well, it's kind of the same concept. If you don't believe, it's one of the things that probably scares me most as a cybersecurity person is to know how much of our money and our assets are out there in the ether. And unless you keep really good records, and I don't, unless you keep really good records, that money could disappear. That's why you want FDIC. Don't get me started on money. I love money, but there are rules about it, and there are ways to be smart about your money, and there are ways to take risks. And if you have a lot of money, you can afford to take a lot of risk. So Bitcoin was the first step in digital currency. I love how I love that you see a Bitcoin and you think it's a thing, like a gold coin. It's not a thing. It doesn't exist. There's no there. It's just vapor. It's not a real thing, except it's written down. So it's real because it's written down. It's recorded digitally in the cryptography. All right. So Bitcoin was first. It's often called digital gold because it has a single price. I believe is the reason why. It was created to bypass centralized banking systems. You need to get that part in your head. crypto was designed to go around centralized banking systems. That's really important to lodge that in your mind. So I'm going to bring it back up again. And it gives people control over finances by allowing peer-to-peer transactions without intermediaries. I think that's like a Cash App or a Zelle. I mean, you have the app as the intermediary, but you don't necessarily have to do banks, right? You can have cash in there. And you can prove it's Cash App. But that's still actually US currency that is actually part of a centralized banking system. So it's decentralized nature, limited supply. There are only 21 million Bitcoins, 21 million units. It's hard to think. You think of it as a physical coin, you start to sound like Donald Trump on the stump, where he's like, I got Bitcoins right here in my pocket, don't you know? No, old man, you don't. So there's only 21 million units, Bitcoins, tokens, whatever you want to call them, the little units that will ever exist in the whole world. I don't know why. If we made up 21 million, there's probably a technological reason why, but I don't know what that is. This is not the thing I'm going to worry about right now. I've got other things to worry about. So the whole trick is that there's something called blockchain that provides the security that makes it all work and unique. So Bitcoin's at the foundation for the cryptocurrencies, and that's why it's often synonymous with the word crypto. Bitcoin is, people will often say Bitcoin. There's some other names out there, but the whole idea is it's still crypto. And to understand how it works, think of it as here's another look at the metaphor. It's a huge shared notebook that everyone can see, but no one can change without everybody's approval. That sounds like the worst nonprofit board ever to me, because if you know nonprofit boards, when you sit on them, that's all consensus driven, and I like to blow my brains out because I'm just I ideally love consensus, and I'm so by consensus because it's really hard to get to, right? So oddly, in this blockchain thing, the Bitcoins it has to have everyone's else approval to make a change. So the notebook, which is the metaphor for blockchain. The blockchain keeps track of every transaction, and each transaction is verified by a network of computers called miners. So I suspect that this is, again, an automated process of verifying, where it goes out, does a search, it comes back and says everything confirmed what I'm doing. They all agreed, all the miners. I don't know if there's people in there, I apologize. That's a little bit of me screwing up, but I suspect this is highly digital. And there's algorithms running this because these guys, nobody wants to work this hard. The miners ensure, so that network of computers, all those participants in the club, ensure its authenticity, preventing fraud or double spending. And then the blockchain security keeps things fair and honest when people trade or share things like digital money. So the blockchain is the gatekeeper. The blockchain is a robot gatekeeper because it doesn't have judgment, in that it could say something looks shady here. It doesn't have, judgment. I guess the judgment is the right word, because that's a human trader's judgment. A computer can only assess positives and negatives, strengths and weaknesses, this many of those many, and they can tell you which way it goes, but it doesn't help you with the judgment or the point of view. So it's interesting that the reason the blockchain is probably really powerful is because it doesn't have judgment. It can just executes on trades and on changes. If you go a little further and imagine where they make the move, imagine that people want to change the content or change something in the Bitcoin. I want to change the price. I want to buy some. I want to trade some, whatever. Before you can officially move, everybody else has to confirm it's a legal move. That's the big trick here. And if a player tries to cheat, others can reject the move because it doesn't match what everyone else reported. I instantly flashed on that game board as we were children, and when somebody cheated, somebody else would throw the board, or more likely it was somebody would get mad at the game and get mad they were losing, and they just go, what, throw that board. Anybody without siblings really missed out. Okay, so why was crypto even started? What purpose did it serve? What were we trying to solve? It all started in 2008, right? As a response to the 2008 global financial crisis. Remember, that's when the housing market just dropped. That's when Obama got elected. It was crazy. People lost faith in the traditional financial system. And when we say people, there is one network in particular who constantly provides commercials that are the American dollar is in trouble. Only a gold is the only answer. Why would you ever put your money in America when you could put it in gold? I don't kind of got the voice, right? You know that commercial? That's going on like crazy. So many people lost faith in traditional financial systems because They saw this new alternative. It's not gold, it's Bitcoin. And you know, the stories at first were Bitcoin paid back in huge amounts of money. Oh my God, the money you could make in Bitcoin. It called all the bulls to the yard, right? It's ridiculous. Bitcoin was designed to be free from government control, inflation, or manipulation by large financial institutions, right? Don't the stock market, that's being manipulated. No, Bitcoin, that's the one. So here's the thing. I didn't know this. Bitcoin was launched by something called Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, Satoshi is a pseudonym for someone, a person, or a group. There is a person, I didn't put his picture up because it is not confirmed, but this collective, this pseudo-anonymous group wrote a book called, or a paper called Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. And it mined the first block known as Genesis block. And I don't know really, mined would be verified, the first block of blockchain, right? The first thing that made the little entities, the little units. That first block made the units. The project was initially discussed on cryptography mailing lists and attracted developers and privacy-focused communities worldwide. Oh, privacy-focused communities is a bit of a catchphrase for bad guys, but okay. And while the origin isn't tied to a particular geographical location, it's closely associated with global online communities. So it's really important that you get the concept that Bitcoin is big. It's big and it's global, and we aren't the only ones playing in it. So in its early days, cryptography enthusiasts and libertarians and privacy advocates were drawn to it because it was decentralized and it started to work. And Bitcoin had little monetary value. Early transactions involved trading it for pizza or coffee, with one famous example where a programmer bought 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin, worth 10,000. This guy, a programmer, had 10,000 units of those 21 million. Today, they're worth billions. But he wasted it on pizza. There's a lesson for somebody. Bitcoin became associated with the dark web in these early years due to its anonymity. Sites like Silk Road, you know, find a date for you in DC, and others use Bitcoin for illegal transactions like drug dealing, fueling its reputation for operating outside the law, even as legitimate interest. So how does this work with regard to the law? It's pretty much an emerging technology. It's been around for a while. What do we say, 2008? It's been around for a while, but it's not been around as a going concern until probably until tomorrow's content about what happened with crypto, because it started getting adopted by a few power players and it started to serve some needs. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow. But right now I can tell you that cryptocurrency regulation varies around the globe. So this is important because we can come out strong for it. In fact, some countries like the US and Japan have embraced crypto, but we have stringent rules, while others like China have banned it entirely. Think about it. That's a communist state. If they let you have money that wasn't being monitored by the state, whoo! So in China, I suspect it's like very big crime because you're really going around the government. You are too in the United States, but the United States, as usual, has a liberal bias towards trusting us. Take that for what it's worth. That's one of the things I like about a democracy, though. It generally trusts us. And I think like something like what? I used to think 91% of humans were good. I'm like, maybe 60% of us are decent people. I mean, come on. It's got to at least be the majority, right? All right. Bitcoin's promise of anonymity makes it a popular currency for criminal activity, especially on the dark web. The Silk Road users were allowed to buy and sell illegal goods with Bitcoin, which attracted scrutiny from law enforcement and basically busted it wide open. Bitcoin transactions happen with pseudonyms, so you don't use your real name, like you use your online handle, whatever you want your Bitcoin handle to be, big Dogecoin boy or swinging bags of Bitcoin. I'm not sure, whatever you'd like your moniker to be. But and it's not tied to your Bitcoin address. It's one thing I've understood about this. It's all very shady. It's hard to find out where people are and what they're doing with their stuff. In fact, getting your crypto extricated from this system is also remarkably hard. I didn't go into that. If you're doing crypto transactions, you can go learn about it. It's how hard it is to withdraw crypto transactions. Very. All right. So on the upside of crypto, there is an upside. Bitcoin attracts investors, businesses, and tech enthusiasts who see the potential as a revolutionary financial tool. legal exchanges began forming, and merchants and companies increasingly accepted Bitcoin as a legitimate form of payment. I do think some of those people are hedging their bets and hoping to get their hands on some of those 21 million units as those prices keep driving up, but it has become mainstream, and businesses like Overstock and PayPal began to accept Bitcoin, and institutional investors started treating it as a valuable digital asset. I'm going to tell you, it's not insured. So you can think it's a valuable digital asset, but like so many things in this world, if the cyber criminals get it and take it from you, you got no recourse, none whatsoever. So there you go. How Bitcoin became political, global in the US is that it's political because it's threatening established financial systems. So anytime you see an institution in a democracy like ours, our institutions are something we want to preserve because those are what help hold up. Those are the pillars of our democracy, right? Those institutions. But once you realize that these institutions can be worked around and dodged, basically. One of the coins is called Dogecoin. But you can dodge being audited, you can dodge monetary policy. Countries like China, India, and Russia initially cracked down, but because they saw it as a threat, their national currencies or how to evade taxes, which there is tax evasion in there. But some of other countries like Switzerland and Japan have embraced it, seeing as it potentially as an opportunity for innovation and investment. But here's the deal. Here's what could go wrong. And I tried to put it together really quick. Oh, there's a blockchain. There are 5 things that where digital currencies can be used for trouble or for opportunity. Let's see. It's actually both. Here's what we think the next steps are going to be in crypto. One is digital currencies from governments. So there are governments today working on digital versions of money called central bank digital currencies. This, of course, will be digital dollars that make payments faster, more secure, but it's controlled by the government, not by the Bitcoin. Remember how the whole thing with Bitcoin is, we don't need no stinking government. We have blockchain to keep it all. Why did I start talking Russian? Stop. I'm going to be such an annoying senior. Okay, so we don't need no stinking badges, right? We don't need no stinking government. That was how Bitcoin was founded. But the reality is the government-based Bitcoin, which allows people to pay, like if you don't have banking or whatever, you can still use it as a way to transfer money, but it'll be government run, which would imply, we'll get there, but it would imply it would be insured and protected and all those good things you want with your money. We should have faster and cheaper international payments. That's nice because it does cost money to send money. And if you haven't ever had to do business with a client who's in another country, it's a pain in the boot. It's easier to use PayPal and some of the cash apps, but it is hard to move money internationally. And I'm not trying to move any kind of money that matters. You can imagine for big companies, the price of, if it's expensive for me to move money, and I'm just a little tiny person, can't even imagine how much it costs to move money at a corporate level. And it's just corporations paying each other. It's not like it's really boosting the economy. I guess it pays for jobs, but this is not, that kind of money is just not the kind of money that's fueling our economy. It should allow for better security for blockchain. As people get involved, we should be able to see continued improvements in security, new developments, like something called, is way out of my league, people, zero knowledge proofs, ZKPs, because why not pick the strangest letters in the alphabet and jam them together and pretend like your mouth can say them. So zero knowledge proofs will make it possible to confirm transactions without sharing sensitive details. That's going to be really important for healthcare or financial services. So interesting to hear this because we've been through so much on the cybersecurity side where I live. We've been through so much on authentication, multi-factor authentication. How much can somebody see when you put in information? Passwords that are too complicated or that need to change all the time. There's so many issues right now in cyber. This just freaks me out. I just feel like we don't need to add one more piece of confusion, but it's happening. Just like AI is happening. These things are happening whether we are ready for them or not. And my general position is humans adapt much much more slowly compared to the rate of change with technology. So I think that we still could have a lot of trouble here. We're going to see more decentralized financial services. They call it DeFi. So we're going to defy centralized banking by decentralizing finance, DeFi. And this is like borrowing or lending without needing a bank. We've seen some of these trials as apps. They're still using regular money, but the idea of it is already happening. So you should be able to see that play out. And then of course, turning real world stuff into digital assets, which is just more than my brain can handle, that level of abstraction. Physical things like real estate, art, or stocks can be turned into digital tokens, meaning people can own and trade small parts of them. I need an example of where this becomes necessary. Where do I need to own? I own parts of something with stock. I guess I would own part of it with Bitcoin similarly. Like I own a piece of the thing. Okay, I can buy that. That makes some sense to me. I'm not sure I'd want to. Well, I could buy this. If it's digital, if it's a cryptocurrency, then I get to participate in like it's like a timeshare. Let's think of a timeshare. You pay your part. That means you get access to 1/52nd of a timeshare. If it's once a week, a year, you get to pay, you pay 1/52nd of that cost, and you get 1/52nd 1 week of a timeshare. If you paid for that in crypto, you would have 1/52nd of the condo. So it makes sense. I think I could see how that would work. That's the kind of stuff they're talking about for the next generation of crypto. And it could do a lot of changes for us, could mean a lot of changes for us. But what I talk about tomorrow is going to bum you out because the people really focused on crypto, it's not you and me. It's not you and me at all. It's a whole different crowd and it's almost built for them perfectly. Thank you for listening today. Tune in tomorrow for part 2.